Hey, good morning, good evening to you, coast to coast and around the world. I'm author, leadership, and team development speaker Joe Woodley, coming to you with another key moments for faith. And thank you for joining me on this particular broadcast. Today, I'm going to be getting into a really deep and heavy conversation. I want to keep it as short and as sweet as is possible because of the heaviness of this particular topic. Now, I attempted to post a video earlier where I was sharing my testimony on how I became pro-life, and I tried to do a live video. For whatever reason, YouTube took it down. They wouldn't allow it to stream. So go figure. I mean, just go figure. They would not allow it to stream. They shut me down. But don't forget to click on the subscribe button there below. Like and subscribe to this channel. And you're going to find some really great videos there below. Something that's going to certainly suit your taste, your need, and your desire. So make sure you do that. Share this channel with your friends, share it with your neighbors, share it with the guy around the street, cousin, Mo, Larry, Curly, whoever it is. And most importantly, share it with your enemies, and they may just become your friends. So as I said, I just attempted to share my testimony on why I became so impassioned about life, particularly life of babies. I'm going to watch the words that I'm saying here, because apparently when I used the A word, it took my video down. Go figure. And would not allow me to post on my particular testimony. So, making this very quick, I was born and raised. I was a church baby, raised in the church through my teen years, and I became rebellious and decided to go my own direction, follow my own path. But while I was in high school, there were groups that would come into health class and talk about the benefits of doing things with your children that you may not want, right? So they would talk about that, and they would get into those types of topics. And for those of you who are wondering why I'm using so much code, it's because, again, the last video that I put up, YouTube took it down. They took it down. I guess they found it to be offensive and found that it crossed whatever lines of decency, even though I was not saying anything that was a lie or that was misleading. Just stating the facts, just sharing my testimony. I was not threatening anybody, and I can get into all that, how Facebook did the same thing with me as well, that when you take a stand on an issue, people don't like it, and they will attempt to censor your speech or shut your speech down. That's just the way it is. So, in any way, I was doing this talk on how what went on live early. As I said, particular groups that are well known, one especially that's well known in the nation, came and talked about, if you make the choice not to have your child, these were the options that you could do. And I'm going to be honest with you. I was at an impressionable age, and I felt like, it was not a topic or an issue I really wanted to be really heavily involved in. I really didn't want to talk a whole lot about it, because I felt like, hey, her body, her choice. I kind of bought into the whole mantra, and if it was me, I would do something different. But I bought into that mantra, and I never, blessed, I didn't find myself ever having to be in that type of position. But that's kind of what I bought into. And I really didn't push back or really take a hard stand, certainly not publicly, understanding the consequences that can flow out of making those decisions. The consequences of taking a stand can be horrendous in a society that has become increasingly secular and that stands in opposition in many ways to the Word of God. Um, it's hard and it can really put you in a box. And if you don't have the strength and the fortitude, you're not going to stand. And I was one of those people who didn't take a stand, and that's something that I look back on and wish that I was able to do that at that time in my life. Thank God I've grown since. So I went through that high school experience, got out of high school, and that's kind of how I thought about things. Didn't want to push anybody's buttons. Really didn't want to kind of stand out and be an outsider, especially around the people I was hanging out with we were all about having a good time and just enjoying life and living it up. And so I didn't want to be the third wheel or the outsider or a sore thumb or I didn't want to be that person. You fast forward several years later, I'm in my early 20s, and I had since moved from New York to Columbus, Ohio. I moved to Columbus, Ohio, and I was, living with somebody. I had an ex at the time, and I'm not going to get into the name or the individual. I'm not going to talk about where I knew them from or how I knew them or anything like that because I really feel like it's important for me to protect their anonymity because I care about the person I'm about to talk to you about and how their situation really fermented, or I should say, firmed up my perspective on the whole issue of life. So in any case, came to find out that she was pregnant, and doesn't matter how she got pregnant. Came to find out she was pregnant. The father of the child walked away and basically abandoned her. He wasn't a good dude anyway. I'm just being honest. He was not a good dude. I have known her and I knew him, and I told her she needed to stay away from him. He wasn't a good guy, so he left her high and dry. So here she is with this child. She's probably about 4 months pregnant. I think she's about 4 months pregnant at that time. And I wanted to do everything I could to support her and to help her. My ex did as well. And so, we had open arms, and we really wanted to make sure that she got that care that she needed. She was getting the care she needed and everything. Well, anyway, she was having some difficulties with the pregnancy. And like I said, up to that point, I didn't really take a hard stand on anything. I didn't take a hard stand. Didn't take a hard line. I was like live and let live, that type of thinking. So she, wow. So she get to the point where she couldn't. She was having these issues, and she was unable to really carry the baby to full term. So I get a phone call from her in the hospital. She was over at the Ohio State University Hospital. That's downtown. That's actually down on campus. Excuse me, it's on campus. So she calls me, and she says, "I need you to come. I don't think I'm going to be able to keep the baby." And I said, "Okay." So I went down there, and my ex and I went down there. I went into the room, and I saw her in there. She's laying in bed. They had her bed tilted with her feet higher because they were trying to do everything they could to try to keep her from going to labor, but it just wasn't. Nothing was stopping it. I mean, she was going into labor. So I held her hand and let her know that I was there for her. And as I sat down in a chair, and the doctors and nurses were in there, and she was asking them, "Is there any way to stop this process from happening?" And they said, "No, we can't do that. Your body's just not. You're going into labor." So I, talk about life changing experience. I I sat there, and nurses and I went around and they said, okay, you're going to labor, and they told her you're gonna have to push because it's coming, this baby's coming. I thought it was significant that they used that term, that this baby is coming. They didn't say, even though she was around 4 months, they didn't say this clump of tissue is coming, this zygote is coming, this thing is coming. They called it a baby. So she made one good push, and out came this baby inside the amniotic sac. And wow, man, I mean, you want to talk about a transformational experience. You want to talk about something that impacted me in a way that I never thought possible. That was it. Um, when the baby came out, it was a baby. It was not a clump of tissue. It was not a zygote. It was not a whatever the biological terminologies they want to use to kind of soften the blow of what's going on and what has happened, or certainly within that industry that specializes in um, taking care of things for people who may not want to have that individual. Let's put it like that again, because, and again, I'm going to keep saying this, I have to use that terminology because when I did this video live, uh, YouTube took it down. I think they found the terminology that I use a little bit too harsh. But I'm talking about real life. Comes out Indiana Sewer. Now, when I sack, and when I looked at this individual, he was a boy. He had not gotten to the point where he was fully, everything had fully separated, so his fingers were there, but they were still kind of stuck together a little bit. But it was a baby. I mean, it was a baby, man. I mean, and that's the first thing I said. I was like, I actually said it out loud. It's a baby. Man, life changing, life changing, life changing. It's a baby. It wasn't just some useless appendage. It became real for me in that moment. My whole world was rocked because, again, I'm thinking about the things that, when those groups would come to high school and talk about, did not line up with what I was seeing. I was seeing a child. I saw a baby boy. So the mom asked, is he going to live? Can you save him? And they said, no, he hasn't developed to the point where his lungs are developed yet. So he's not going to make it. That's what they said. So they cleaned him up, put little baby clothes on him, and little itty bitty baby clothes, look like doll clothes. They put him on him, and they had her hold him, and he was struggling to breathe. And this is when and I remember seeing that. I'm like, boy, if they have no feelings, I'm seeing a whole lot of feelings. It's just not neurological reactions. I mean, there's life here. It's thinking. It wants to live. This boy, he wants to live. He wants to live. And of course, he didn't make it. But that was a life-changing experience for me. It was life-changing. And my whole world view on the issue of life changed. I was no longer wobbly on the subject. Just wasn't. It was real preparation for me because when my son was conceived, his mom never threatened anything, taking any type of steps. Let's put it like that. But I felt like if that was something that she had even brought up, I was willing to fight for him because it mattered to me. People matter. People are important. No matter what we say or no matter what we think, they matter. That taught me that. It was an impactful moment in my life. And I will never, ever, ever forget it, and what it meant to me. So, there's no condemnation for people who have made those types of decisions, because I personally believe that uh, they have been deceived. Point blank, I believe that they have been deceived, and they don't know that they've been deceived, but they have. They don't see what they're doing as being wrong, because everything around the increasingly secular world we live in, what was good has become evil, and what is evil has become good. And when you're constantly bombarded with these messages in our media, you're bombarded with messages online, you're bombarded with messages, people live, frankly, coming to your school, when you're an impressionable age. This is New York, mind you. I don't know if they do it in other states, but I'm just telling you what happened in New York. They came to school because they felt like it was important for them to present their particular point of view. And even though they talked about birth control, everybody knew who they were. So let's not play games. Let's not kid ourselves and um, play this game that you don't know these kids know. They know about these groups that support certain stances on life. I don't condemn people, because, like I said, they don't know. I mean, very few people are like just straight up raw and evil and narcissistic in a way where it doesn't even matter to them. They aren't even fazed by it. But most women, I believe, are, and I think it impacts them in a very profound way. I know it impacted that individual in a very profound way. This whole situation, and she was never the same afterwards. She just wasn't. So I know that life is important and it matters. For me, life matters from conception to the grave. That's where I'm at. And I think it's important that we as people of God, as the years have gone by, I think it's important that we as people of God, if we say that we support life from conception to the grave, if that's what we're saying, then we need to be there to support these women when they conceive, no matter what the situation is, whether they made the right choice in partnering with someone or not. That child is conceived, and that means that child matters. So we need to be there for them when they've been conceived, for the mom to make sure she gets the help that she needs. But we also need to be there when that child is born. That we can't just leave her high and dry and say, well, you made the decision, you just deal with it. As family members, as a community of believers, as a society of believers, we need to surround that person and help them, and help to raise that child, help to support that mom or that dad or that family, because they made the right choice. They chose life. And if they're choosing life, then we need to be there, because we're about speaking life as believers. We say we speak life, we stand for life. Then if that's what we're doing, then we need to be there to support them after birth as well, so that child grows into a healthy, well-contributing, spiritual, spirit-filled young man or woman of God, and that they are fulfilling their purpose and their call in their life. We can't just leave them high and dry and pretend that that's okay. We can't just say you should support life, and then after that life is produced, we leave them out to die, or leave them to struggle, or leave them with no hope or no alternatives. We need to be there from the beginning until the end. That's a responsibility that we have as believers. And so when I see people say, hey, they made the choice, I didn't tell them to do that, that's not right. That's not right either. And then you put people in a position where they look and they say, well, no one's going to support me. I made the decision, but no one's there to support me. We need to be there, believers. We need to be supporting these moms. We need to be supporting these dads. We need to be supporting these families. They've chosen, they've chosen the right choice, or they've made the right choice. They decided they're going to have this child. Let's be there to support them. Let's be there to encourage them. So I want to read real quickly Jeremiah, the first chapter, verse 5 says, this is the Lord speaking to Jeremiah. It says, before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee, and before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee, and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. Before you were born, God knew you. Before you were conceived, God knew you. He already knew that he already designed a purpose for your life. He already created a purpose for your life. God knew you since the beginning of time. He knew where you were going to be. He knew where you were going to live. He knew how you were going to talk. He knew what nationality, what race you were going to be. God already knew those things. He did. And if God already knew those things, that means that you are valuable to him because he took the time to know you by name. Billions of people in the world, think about that. And he knows you by name. He knows me by name. That experience that I went through was life-changing. He knew that boy by name. For the limited amount of time that he was here, he knew him by name. He was precious to him. Just as you're precious to God, just as I'm precious to God. We're all precious to God. We're all precious in his sight. It reminds me of the song, Jesus loves the little children, all the children of the world. Red or yellow, black and white, all are precious in his sight. Jesus loves the little children of the world. He loves us all. And he loved that little boy. And wow, what a beautiful baby he was. So I want to challenge you guys before you make another choice, before you make your decision. Maybe some of you are in the midst of some difficult decisions right now. I'm going to challenge you to think twice, 3 times, 4 times, and go before God. And I want to challenge my Christian brothers and sisters that if you say that you support life, let's step up to the plate. Let's be there for these individuals as they are pregnant or while they're pregnant, and let's be there for them after they give birth. And let's be there for that child so that that child has an opportunity to make better choices for themselves and their family and the community. Let's step up and let's be there for them. Let's not just talk about how much God loves them and we're not willing to extend a hand to help. We need to be willing to extend a hand to help because all children are valuable to God. They were valuable to him before they were even conceived, and they're valuable after they've been conceived. They're valuable after they've been born, and they're valuable through death. Let's not pick and choose when we want to be there for somebody, or say because you made a particular choice or you made a decision that doesn't line up with what I believe or how this child should have been conceived. Let's not play that game. They're all precious. They're all special before God, and we have a responsibility as a church to be there to help to raise that child to be the man or woman of God that they're called to be because they are precious to God. He knew them just as he knows you. He knew them by name. So I'm just going to challenge you guys to think about that. I pray this hopefully this testimony sticks around this time because I said last time I did it, YouTube took it down. I guess they felt like it was too heavy of a topic and I had to kind of disguise the names I was using because I guess they picked up on the algorithm and it didn't make them happy and they felt they needed to shut down my video. But I pray that you guys get something out of this. I love each and every one of you. I pray that those of you who are going through difficulties trying to make some choices right now, that you reach out and you get help. And I pray that those that you reach out to are willing to offer a helping hand. You are all wonderful to me. You're all God's children to me. And so I'm praying for you in this time. I'm also the Leadership and Team Development Speaker, Joe Woody. Thank you for joining me on this particular broadcast. I pray that God continues to bless you and he opens doors for you and that the blessing of the Lord shower over you. And remember, we were all known He knew us before we were even conceived. God bless you.